a lot of times your posterior or superior portion of your capsule. You mobilize that, your lat, and then mobilize your pec. I bet you a lot of times your lateral elbow pain will go away.
I totally agree. And I think you said something very important, and I don't want to glaze over it. You said something about lats contributing to the internal rotation factor. And because I know there's a lot of information out there where people say for every push you should do a pull.
Sure, yeah.
But that's not necessarily the case when you consider that the lat is also an internal rotator.
Yeah.
And then if you're loading up even more internal rotation on top of the imbalance in the pecs versus the upper back, and then the lat is pulling everything in, and then your shoulders are all forward, your biceps are tight.
Right.
All that stuff is compounding the issue and making a bunch of stuff a lot worse.
Right.
So you can't just look at it like for every push you need to do a pull, or for every push you need to do 2 pulls.
Right, yeah.
Because it's not necessarily going to work the way that you think. Instead, you should look at like external rotations, abductions, things along those lines in order to get that balance back.
I think that's a huge point. Let's get these out of here now first. Let's take these out. So I'm going to go ahead and take them out. We're going to go ahead and gently pull. There's one.
I'm going to try not to bleed this time. Every time we do this, there's a little trickle of blood. I'm a bleeder.
Pull this out here.
Okay, 2 for 2. All right, this is the one that always trickles.
Let's see what we got here. Hey, look at that. Nothing. We're good.
I think it was the strategic
distraction. It was a little distraction technique. That's what it was, yeah. So we'll go in, and while we're talking, we'll stretch it. I like how much better that stretches down right there.
It's amazing. Even though I didn't wince earlier, it was still uncomfortable. But look, I don't think it was touching the callus pad.
No, you got down there really good right there. Yeah, I'm just going to hold that for... a side note, in some of these earlier studies, they've taken a look at it, like how long do you hold a stretch in order to get some actual passive, changes within the tissue, and there's a lot of debate about stretch, but a minimum of 30 to 40 seconds. If you're looking to have that really, again, that's, we've seen that again in rabbit models. It's a rabbit study from I don't know how long ago. I've got it hanging on my desk, but that's usually what you're going to see is that 30 to 40 second mark, closer to the 40 second mark for the changes. But so let's get back to your lat issue and stuff. A lot of guys do a lot of lat dominant stuff, and I'm not saying that lats are great, big wide back. I've done it myself. I've backed off a lot on things like that, especially even like training specific things like biceps and stuff. If you're training for something like that, those are mostly your show muscles, right? But you can fatigue them out and get them activated just by doing some back exercises and those type of things as well. Yeah. So I think one of the biggest things is do a couple of simple tests. One is a lat length test where you can do that laying on your back, and you try to lay your back flat on the mat table, take out the curve, and you elevate your arms over your head and see if you can get your arm straight over your head without losing the lumbar curve in your back. And if you can't do that, it's probably telling your lat length is really off a little bit. So doing some mobility stuff for your latissimus, because you're right, it's an internal rotator, internally rotates. It adducts, bring your arms closer to the body, and it extends. And it's a big, broad, thick muscle. So that coupled it's going to depress your shoulder girdle, and then the pec up front here. A lot of guys, every Monday's that National Chest Day and stuff like that. So that pec minor, as it comes forward, it's going to pull that shoulder girdle forward. So that pec minor pulls that down. Your lat internally rotates it and extends it. It depresses that shoulder girdle, which causes a lot of anterior shoulder pain because it's decreasing the subacromial space. So it's really a mobility issue. And when that mobility issue is things aren't good up top, it transfers the forces down the extremity farther. Energy has to leak someplace.
All right, so the say that again.
It transfers the forces elsewhere. So if the shoulder girdle can't control that external rotation, or the rotator cuff is overpowered by the deltoid, the pecs, the lats, and the cuff can't control that shoulder, especially when you get out in high five positions, so you're doing back squat, overhead pressing like that off, it can't control that. You're compromised. What happens is over time it's going to cause some mechanical issues, and then that energy is going to leak down the chain farther, and so it's going to go to places that aren't normally taking that load because you can't compensate and stabilize here. So a good balance is making sure you have a good. It's nice to have like a mobility day built into your program sometimes, where you work on some of those smaller muscles like your external rotators of your shoulder, your serratus anterior, which is the deeper your shoulder blade. It helps to bring your shoulder blade on your thorax better and keep that stable when you're doing any kind of pressing motion. Making sure you're stretching the posterior capsule, mobility of that shoulder and your pec, and really getting some good control in there. So I think that's important to build into a program if you can. So, yeah, that's a nice stretch right there, Jed. Right down there.
Yep.
Hook a couple times for me.
Like this?
Yeah, yeah.
And I do this at the end of the stretching too.
Yeah, yeah. So the interossei in the fingers, they extend the PIP joints and they flex these middle ones here. So they run along the side of the fingers, and then some of the grip guys and stuff we see, they have a real hard time stretching those interossei muscles. So it's hard for them to get down in this position. Jed's like that, and so what we got to do is bring that back, and we've got to stretch. That's going to get those, but then to get our lumbricals, we got to actively follow up with it afterwards. So you do a passive stretch, and then you do an active thing here. So Jed and I are thinking about putting together a hand health book for you guys and stuff like that. It'd be kind of cool to do. So
yes. Yeah, absolutely. Real excited about it.
But yeah, that's kind of what we'll do with that. See how that goes right now. How's it feeling?
There's absolutely no pain whatsoever. The dry needling, of all the things we've tried, as far as like an instantaneous pain reduction, the dry needling has been the most effective of anything.
Oh, that's great.
And I really think it's like lasting longer
in between.
Yeah.
So a lot of times you won't feel, I think, effects. You might feel immediate effects, but if you feel it and you get it to the tissue to relax, and then the length of time that incurs over time, where there's might be pain here, but now it takes, instead of pain occurring in 2 hours, now it's 4 hours, now it's 8 hours, now it's 24 hours, and as long as that you keep on top of that, many times these injuries aren't fixed overnight. Mm-hmm. It's been years they've been in the making. You can't expect them to turn around overnight, especially let's say any like shoulder health, those types of things. Many times it takes months for them to come along of consistency. So, and these things are no different. You know, there's
I normally can't do this by myself.
Yeah,
I normally can't touch the distal portion of my finger down to my callus line. So.
Yeah, it looks good. Yeah, cool.
Awesome.
Nice,
Thanks, Jim.
Yeah, absolutely, brother.
So where can they find out more about you, Jim?
I got an Instagram handle. It's CHT_71, I think. _71, yeah. I think that's what it is. I don't know. CHT Power.
CHT Power.
CHT
Power's in there.
Yeah, CHT Power _71 or something like that.
CHT is certified hand therapy.
That's correct. Yeah, on there. And then maybe Jed, can you put my email address and something or whatever?
Now you're asking too much.
Yeah. So I'll be happy to help out. So.
All right.
But yeah.
Awesome, man.
Cool.
Thank you so much.